Now, the main issue I would hope that the new president would address would be international development and the potential for immigrant diasporas in the U.S. to effectively contribute and manage that process. Specifically, highly skilled immigrants who come to the U.S. either for employment or higher education, or their offspring who typically have strong connections to their parents' home countries. Now, presently, the U.S. spends tens of billions of dollars every year on aid, international aid. Yet typically, most of that aid goes to waste, either because of corruption or because of ineffectual practices by the NGOs who implement the programs in these countries. Now, there are other models of aid or assistance that doesn't necessarily focus on international aid. However, that focuses on the remittances and assistance from immigrant communities abroad who go back to implement change. One example is Taiwan's growth as a technological hub, primarily because of US-based Taiwanese scientists who left here to go back to Taiwan. Also, India's growth as a technology hub has been attributed to the strong community of Silicon Valley Indian scientists who went to India and developed the outsourcing potential. And all came about through the highly educated immigrants who immigrated here. Now, presently, the statistics say that 40% of all PhDs in the science awarded in the US go to immigrants. And that by 2010, as much as 75% might go to immigrant populations, with 50% of all PhDs awarded going to immigrants. Right? Now, this group represents an untapped potential because typically they look upon the US not as their sole home, but continue to contribute to their home countries. Now, I would say encouraging the work of these groups will not only increase their connections to the US, but also serve as a new model for new international development. Now, in Ghana, for instance, where my parents are from, there are examples of this occurring. Ashesi University was started 6 years ago and is now considered one of Africa's premier universities. And it was started by a Ghanaian who came to the US in the 80s, went to Swarthmore College, worked at Microsoft for a couple years, and then went to Haas Business School. And over the past 6 years, his university has maintained connections to all these places and is educating people from across the African continent. Similarly, there's another Ghanaian American who was able to secure $30 million in loans from the US Overseas Private Investment Corporation to develop Ghana's first home mortgage industry. Right? And from the Philippines, there's an example of an individual with higher education credits from MIT and the Harvard Kennedy School who is implementing new models for design, home design, building design in the Philippines to help deal with the plague that affects the Philippines in regards to natural disasters and so forth. Now imagine such a drive, such an impact being targeted at Haiti, where the US and the world sends so much resources every year that normally goes to waste. But targeting the young Haitian immigrants here in the US who have a strong desire to effect that change and giving them the tools and resources to make that change. Now, my parents came here in the 70s. I was born here, grew up here, but also grew up in Ghana as well. And when I graduate, I look to go back to Ghana to help effect change because I believe my skills and talents are better, will have more of an impact there than here. Now, in going back, I'll definitely create change that will link my two cultures, the US and Ghana. But I don't necessarily want to ask for aid when I'm going back. Now, whenever I say this, sometimes the old stereotypes hold true, and my Democrat friends will look at me askance, wondering how I could go and do anything without help. And my Republican friends will shake my hand vigorously. But when I go back, I'm looking for partnerships. And so my message to the new president will be to look at the developing world not as the recipients of aid, but as the receivers of partnerships. Partnerships that will inevitably assist the US, as we see in the improved business processes that India has allowed through outsourcing, or to the new markets for US businesses in India as well. All right? But partnerships that will enable these countries to fix their problems, correct the ills that ail them with dignity. All right? And this is where I might disagree a bit with Mr. Card's message earlier. I see these partners not as hegemonic powers that come in and saying, do what I tell you, but more as collaborative partners. For in this new world that we're entering, this new century, the US will thrive more through the linkages it makes with different regions and cultures than through force or any other means. And so, the natural partners in such a development will be the immigrant populations here in the US with a dream to go back and fix their countries, who come to the US not only for an American dream, but for a new international dream. Thank you.